Right, so before we can do anything with our database, we need to make a connection to it. Now everything in this page here is basically going to be made up of functions. So there's going to be multiple functions with different purposes, and there's going to be a series of if statements later on so that we can choose which function to run based on which button we are running. So we're going to start off with this function, and this function is basically my MySQL connection string using PDO. Now PDO is an object-oriented way in PHP to connect to our database, and it's also the most secure and currently the most widely and recommended use to connect to your database. So let's use that throughout this set of videos. So we're going to type in function, and I'm just going to call this function connections, and then we're going to go over here. And inside of this, I'm just going to have a try-catch block. If I can write try-catch. And basically what that does is that we're going to go and try and connect to our database. And if it doesn't work, we display an error message over here, which we can demonstrate in a moment what that does. So the first thing we need is we create a variable called DSN. And DSN is just we can call the variable anything we like, but it's just basically where our database is and what the database is that we are connecting to. So I'm just creating a new string, and MySQL is the, like I said, type of database that we're going to connect to. So, and what I'm doing here is I'm just appending our constant variables that we created in the creds file into this. And from there we are then able to make our connection. So let's go and run through that. Okay, so what I'm doing over here is DSN is just where my database lives, and this just matches up with what we have in our constant variables. Over here, the variable PDO, I'm creating a new PDO object, which is a built-in class into PHP, and this just creates a new instance of this class, and it takes these three parameters. So one is the DSN string that we've just created up here. The second one is the variable to our user for our database, and the third one, is the password to our database. Once we've created the object, I'm just setting some values for an attribute of this instance, and basically what I'm saying is that by default I want all my fetching that I'm doing from my database to be in an associative type array. So rather than us having to do that manually every single time, I'm just adding it here to my object that I'm creating. Now if I at some point want to overwrite it, I can just manually add that into my functions, but we don't need to do that at this stage. The second bit is that I just want to print out an error in case our database connection doesn't work, which we always want to do because that will be quite a useful little thing. So what we're doing here is basically if our connection doesn't work for any reason, we get an error message, and here it says, gives us what that message actually is. So let's go and call this function that we've got, which is going to go as connections over here. And if I refresh my page, we are actually going to see here that we've got a syntax error, unexpected, bracket expecting, blah, 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 on line 17. So here I've got, oh wait, yes, I forgot to add in my exception parameter, exception E. That should do it. Oh wait, undefined class, fetch a sock. Still can't spell fetch. Fetch. Are we doing good now? Yes. So if everything is correct over here, we shouldn't see anything on this page, right? We're just returning our PDO object. But if we have a mistake, like say for example what we saw before, or if we say for example put our password into a string, which therefore means that our password doesn't exist, it actually gives us this error, access denied for user root at the IP address of your container using this password, okay? So make sure that your constants, which is a common error, are not inside of quotes, because we are just referring to the variable directly. So again, if there is no issues, you should see nothing on your screen, okay? So let's go and remove this function, because we're just calling it inside of the functions where we make our request. And in the next video, what we're going to create is the first function, which is our login into our admin area.